Welcome back to our final text tricks video. So on this video I'm going to show you guys how to use the offset path tool, and we're going to do that down here on our third artboard. So just like we did on the first two, the first thing we're going to do is click our letter T over here for our type tool. Click on our artboard one time and put in the first letter of one of your names, your first name, middle name, or last name, your choice. And then once you have your letter here, this time we're going to make it about 200 points on the font size. So we're just going to come over here and type in that box 200 and press enter. And then choose whatever font you'd like. Again, you can choose the same font you used on the first two, or you can choose an entirely different font. That is your choice, but pick something again that is simple and bold to make it easier on you whenever we get to actually weeding it out in vinyl, so that you're not making it harder on yourself than it has to be. So I'm just going to scroll down through here and pick something, and then I'm going to take the black arrow, the selection tool right here, and I'm going to drag it down to about the middle of the screen. Alright, now that I have my letter here in about the center of my artboard, remember again, I want to make sure that it is not a font any longer. I need it to be a vector image, so I'm going to hit Control Y to see what it looks like in my outline mode that the cutter sees, and then I can see it is a text font still, so I'm going to right click on it and choose Create Outlines again. If you don't see this Create Outlines option, it is because you do not have your letter selected. So if you don't have it selected and you click, it won't be an option. You have to left click and select your letter first with that black arrow or the selection tool, and then right click and say Create Outlines. Once it's outlined, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Y to put it back in normal mode. Okay. And my tool that I want to use this time is the offset path tool. So to get to that, again, I have to have my letter selected, so make sure it's clicked on and selected with your black arrow. You know that it's selected if you see the blue bounding box around it. I'm going to come up here to Object on my tabs across the top of the screen. I'm going to come down about halfway until I see the word Path, and then over to Offset Path, which is about your fourth option down. And then I'm going to click that. This little pop-up is going to come up here on your screen. If you click to put a check mark in the preview box to the right or to the left of it, it is going to do things over here on your screen depending on what font you chose. It's going to make it look like it's outlined, and it's going to be really big and bold. You have some choices here as far as how the edges look or the corners look on your outline, on your offset path. With this joins feature right here, it's always set to miter by default, but you can change it to round, to have rounded edges or corners, or beveled, and that is your choice. It's the designer's personal preference, so pick whichever one you think looks best. I'm going to choose round for mine because I like that, and that's what I want to choose. And then I'm going to change my offset path number right here to about 0.08. Okay, so make sure when you're typing in here that you put 0.08, not 0.8, because it does make a huge difference. This is what 0.08 looks like. This is what 0.8 looks like. So you can see that's not what we want. Okay, so make sure you have 0.08 there. Once you have that, you're going to go ahead and click the OK button up here on the screen. And then you're going to come up here to Object again across the top on the tabs. And you're going to choose Expand. And what that does is it makes this other path separate so that we can edit it and change it. Okay, so I'm going to click on my shape again, and I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to say Ungroup. Okay, what that's going to do is allow me to pick my shapes as separate pieces. Okay, so you see that when I click on this one, it just shows that outline. And when I click the center one, it shows my actual font that we started off with. So I'm going to come over here and click just my outline, the one that's in the background, and I'm going to change the color of it. Okay, so for you guys, it's up here on the top left of your screen until we get our new version of Adobe Illustrator. Once you do, it'll be over here on the right like mine is. And the very first option which should be black on yours, is our fill color. So we're going to click it and we're going to change it to none. Okay, so we want our fill color to be none. You can also do that over here on the left hand side. The option for none is the white square with the red line through it. Okay, and then I want to change my stroke outline to black. All right, we can leave it set to 1 point, but I can tell you that you're probably going to want it set closer to 3 to 5 in order to make it easier to weed out on the vinyl cutter. So you can see as I'm pulling it up here to 3, the difference between what it looks like. So you can look at that and make a personal preference again as a designer. What do you like? 3, 5, whatever your choice is. Okay. Once I have that change, I'm going to come up here to Object again and click Expand again. And then this box is going to pop up and I'm going to say OK. What that does is it makes it outlined as a shape again and not a straight line, because if it's just a line, the cutter's just going to cut the one line. When I did this, you can see how it put some little other random shapes inside here that I am not going to want to cut out on the cutter, and it's very easy to fix. All I have to do is come over with my white arrow or the direct selection tool. If I want to change just one thing, I can always use that tool, and I can click on that shape that I don't want to be there and hit the delete key twice on the keyboard. Now, not the backspace key. The backspace key and the delete key are not the same thing. The delete key is above your arrow keys. It actually says the word delete on the key. So I'm going to click any of these pieces I do not want to be there anymore. And once I do, I'm going to just click on them and say delete. If you do this like I just did, see how it deleted my whole background? Hit Control Z to undo it. Hit Control Y to go into your outline mode and delete it this way by clicking on it and hitting delete twice. Okay, because then if I put this back, the original shape's still there that I want, but that's like it's supposed to be. Okay, so I should have all of my all 3 of my artboards complete now. And the last thing I want to show you how to do before we save this and get ready to turn them in and take it over to the cutter is if you have extra space on your artboard. So see how my letter does not fill in my whole entire artboard? You need to resize either your letter or your artboard or both, because all of this is extra material that it will be wasting in our vinyl, and I won't let you cut it out if you're wasting our materials. So I'm going to come over here to my black arrow. I'm going to click outside of my rectangle, hold down the left mouse button and select everything on that screen. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key to keep it proportional and drag as close to the edge as possible without touching. Okay, and then I'm going to use just my arrow keys on my keyboard and move that as far left as possible without it touching the edge of the artboard. I can see I still have a little white strip here of extra space that's going to waste material, and I can get rid of that by clicking on my document setup. So for you guys, if you click off of everything to deselect it, so that means just clicking anywhere outside of your artboard out here in the gray area, a button will pop up here at the top of the screen that says document setup, and you're going to have to click that button. On the new version, this document setup button is over here on the right now, but you don't have to get to edit the artboards that way anymore. You're just going to see a button over here that says edit artboards. But for you guys, you're going to click document setup, and when you do that, you're going to see this button up here at the top that says edit artboards. And then across the top of the screen right here on the left, you're going to see a W and an H showing your width and your height that you can change it. But the easiest way to do it is just to come down here, any of these little squares that are on the corners or in the center, just hold down the left mouse button and drag that over as close as possible to resize your artboard. So now you can see I don't have any wasted space. I've dragged it over as far as I possibly can. If I hit the escape key on the keyboard or just click anywhere with my black arrow, it goes back out of that mode. I'm going to hit Control S and save it. And now it is ready to turn in on Schoology so that you can cut it out on the vinyl cutter.